Good afternoon and welcome to the afternoon meeting of the Health and Human Services Committee. Secretary, will you please call roll?
Assembly members Dahlia. Here. Edgeworth. Here. Gonzalez. Here. Goulding. Here. Gray. Here. Hafen. Hibbets. Here. Hunt. Here. Jackson. Here. Koenig. Nadeem. Wynn. Here. Ortlicker. Here. And Chair Brown-May.
Thank you. I am here. If you would mark our members present as they arrive, I know a number of them are doing bill presentations around the building this afternoon. So first I want to welcome our members here in Carson City and in Las Vegas and anyone on the telephone line that is joining us here today. We have a very full room here in Carson City as well as an overflow room. We have a number of folks that are visiting us from around the state. So out of ordinary, our typical meeting, we're going to open this meeting with public comment this morning, or this afternoon. Sorry, I'm still in the morning. Whew. So first, housekeeping announcements. If you would please make sure to silence your electronic devices. If you want to testify, please sign in at the table. When testifying, it's important that you turn on your microphone and then clearly state and spell your name for the record. Members of the public may also provide public testimony on a bill or by in-person or public comment. To do so, you would call 888-475-4499 and then provide the meeting ID 840-6700500 and then press pound. Meeting agenda and committee information is available on Nellis or on the legislature's YouTube channel. We will start today with public comment here at the beginning of the meeting. Anyone who is wishing to offer public comment this afternoon, please come forward and fill in the chairs here in Carson City or in Las Vegas. We were going to dedicate 15 or so minutes to public comment. You have 2 minutes. And then we will go to the business of the committee after the first 15 minutes, and then we will take public comment again at the end of the session. I do believe that we have Ms. Shelby that is preparing to offer public comment first. So I would say you may begin when you are ready. Shelby, I'm going to interrupt you 1 second if you don't mind, please. I think there's a button on the side of that microphone that will turn it on.
Good afternoon, Chairman Brown. My name is Shelby Benzie. SHELBYBENZING. I am 20 years old. I go to the University of Nevada, Reno. I am a human development family science major, and I am here today to talk about how important the Medicaid/Medicare benefits are important. I have been in a wheelchair my whole life, and I could not imagine my life without a power wheelchair. Also, I have had many surgeries that changed my life. Also, the Board of Education is another thing. I was on the IEP for all my school career, and it got me to where I am today. So please think about what you're taking away before taking it away. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to ask you to refrain from applause if you don't mind. It's just a typical matter of courtesy in the legislative building that we don't show applause, so equally we don't oppose bills publicly. You may begin when you're ready.
Good afternoon. I guess it's afternoon. My name is Carol Matrone, Matrone. I'm here from Las Vegas, Nevada, and I am representing not only my daughter, who is 34, who is profoundly physically disabled, but I guess globally the entire Betty's Village community, where both my daughter and I reside separately. My daughter has been living independently there for the past 4 years, and prior to that, independently with the assistance of health and, with Desert Regional Center Services for about 6 years. So Health and Human Services, here we sit before you, and we're all in an age of uncertainty here and trepidation about what's going to happen. Like I said, my daughter's living independently. I'm hoping to continue that to be the case for her and 6 of her other residents at Betty's, but also for the 90-some individuals statewide that were granted the opportunity to live independently. Does it cost those individuals a lot to live like that? Yes. But we all know rents have gone up, cost of living has gone up, everything's gone up, and they shouldn't be penalized for that. I'm also here, like our other first speaker, about Medicaid and Medicare cuts. Medicaid affects our personal care services, our bus transportation, waiting lists for job day training services, everything. And a lot of those services in the Las Vegas area have been frozen because of lack of funding. So we're here looking today to hope that you gatekeepers have our backs and continue to provide support so we can be adequately funded, our individuals can be adequately funded, our waiting lists don't grow exponentially, that kids, I call them kids, but adults don't have to ride on the bus for 2+ hours, that we're here to ensure that everybody has the right to live independently in their communities. Thank you so much for what you do and for having us come and speak to you today. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Dear Assembly members, my name is Jody Collins, Jodicollins. I am also from Las Vegas. I'm here today with my husband and my son. My son Andre is 29 years old. He has cerebral palsy, he's profoundly deaf, he has a liver autoimmune, and he has a feeding tube for nutrition. And as you can see, he uses an electric wheelchair for mobility. He was born 5 weeks early and spent 6.5 weeks in the neonatal unit at Sunrise Hospital. The first 4 years of his life, he was in and out of the hospital numerous times. And throughout those years, my husband and I cared for him with a little help from his grandparents. He did receive some respite hours, but the care mainly relied on us. As my friend's children began to go off to college and get married, my husband and I never imagined that Andre would live anywhere but with us. We love him to pieces, but the thought of never being empty nesters is difficult. Being the parent of an adult with special needs is never easy. As my husband and I got older, we worried about who would care for him when we were gone. He's an only child, and none of my family members are very involved in his daily life or care. Even with that weighing on our minds, we went and visited Betty's Village in Las Vegas in 2021. Didn't really think it was an option for him. When we suggested maybe one day the 3 of us move in there, my son said, "No, me alone." I'm like, okay. Put him on the waiting list. Took 2 years. He got the call last year, and he moved in on April 30th, 2024. The move has been a big adjustment for all of us, but he's enjoying driving his chair to work next door at Opportunity Village, seeing his friends daily, joining in all the activities that they have at Betty's Village. He's getting used to having different caregivers who are not his parents. He chose everything to decorate his apartment. And my husband and I are happy to know that he is already established and set up if something happens to us. He's loving his independence, and the idea that we could lose all that is very upsetting. We feel that all people with disabilities should have the right to live alone if they choose. Please continue to fund Medicaid and fight the cuts that are being recommended. These waivers allow him to live alone. They allow him to ride the RTC bus. They allow him to work at Opportunity Village. To pull back that independence my son is already enjoying would be devastating to his mental and physical well-being.
Mrs. Collins.
Yes, that's it. Thank you. My son is lucky to have all of you representing him. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. I'm wondering if Mr. Collins, the senior with junior. Okay. And Mr. Andre, does he have a comment for the record? That's perfect. Thank you. Go ahead.
Good morning, Chair Brown May. I am here representing myself and my son. My son is 23 years old. I believe you all should have a flyer on him that tells you a little bit about our family and what our struggles are. I'm here to ask that you please consider the people that Medicaid is affecting when you're talking these Medicaid cuts. It affects real people with real smiles and real lives, and I can't even imagine what our life would be like if we lost 80% of the Medicaid funding that we're getting. I'm a shared living provider for my son. There is no option in Northern Nevada. We live here in Reno, and there is no option of housing for our son. He has too many medical issues, and it's just not feasible for him to live anywhere at this moment without living with us. We are his primary caregivers. We do require 24-hour nursing or us being there all the time because of his epilepsy. So it's a constant fight to try to get enough nursing services so that I can come do things like this or just get out of the house and take a break. I'm getting older. My husband's getting older. As the previous speaker said, we're very concerned about what's going to happen when we're gone. There is nothing for our son to move into or go to. Please consider not cutting the Medicaid expenses for home health care, nursing services, host home, shared living providers, and anything that has to do with helping us get equipment and therapies for our children and adults. I will all call them children forever. So I wanted to print out this little flyer so that you guys could see a face and think of his smile every time you go to vote for something and know that, he's smiling because he's living a full and happy life right now, and we want to be able to continue to do that. Thank you all very much for doing what you do. Have a
Thank
good
you.
day.
I wasn't planning to do this, but I'm Judy Ishibashi. I'm an occupational therapist. I've been an occupational therapist.
Would you mind spelling your name for the record for the secretary?
Okay, it's Judy, Judy, Ishibashi, like wishy-washy, Ishibashi. My life began in a concentration camp, American concentration camp for Japanese Americans. And I had a mother from Nevada who didn't act like all the other. She didn't know Japanese people, so she acted like her Basque friends. So when she had my brother in the camp, she said, "No more. My next baby is not going to be born here," and she fought like hell. And she had a mouth on her, and I think they were happy to get rid of her, and she had family in Elko, Nevada. So I was born in Elko, Nevada. I'm a longtime Nevadan, and it's been a good home for me. All the prejudices and things that we felt growing up were really incredible. And I have always, from the time I was little, protected other children. So I have been a pediatric occupational therapist for most of my career, but I have worked with from babyhood all the way through adulthood. And so I want to say that, Shelby has been mine since she was like 2 years old. And Pam's son has been mine since he was a baby too. And so we've had a relationship for a long time. I do not like the term disability. I don't think there is such a thing. I think there's a diversity of humans. And I think that we are all diversely gifted. I have learned more from Shelby and from my patients than I have taught them. And I continue to learn from them. I think that we need to learn more more about each other. I think when you look around, you don't see people with the same color of me. You don't see people like Shelby. Shelby's at the university, and she doesn't see anybody else in a wheelchair. When I worked in the schools, the kids that I worked with were so enthralled by a boy who was as involved as Shelby and every bit as smart as Shelby. They lined up outside the handicap parking lot before school, waiting for their turn to help push, help play with this child. But that enthusiasm changes. And the interaction changes, and Shelby is really isolated at the university. And if you want spontaneity, can you say, "Oh, hey, let's go over across town to this coffee shop"? Do you have a wheelchair accessible van? Do you know how to take Shelby there? Can you? Is that the end?
Yes,
okay.
ma'am. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate your comments. Thank you so much. If you don't mind, we're going to take the last two commenters that are at the table, as we discussed prior to calling to order, okay? And then we'll go into our bill hearings, and then we'll come back to public comment at the end. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you.
Thank you, Assemblywoman May Brown, for your involvement in our community and for having us here today. My name is Christina Ugalde. That's CHRISTINAUGALDE. And I'm here with the Down Syndrome Network of Northern Nevada. And I would like to address all of you as the proud aunt of a soon-to-be 9-year-old with Down syndrome named Sebastian. The decisions that you make here have a huge impact on my family and the community of all of us. I hope that you think of the thousands of families like mine when making your decisions and take into consideration the special needs of this underserved segment of the population. We need your help to stand with us and for us. Thank you for your time today and for your efforts in protecting all of us here.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Hi. I'm Tracy Manning. Sorry, my daughter Caitlin. Manning. Apologize. Caitlin moved into Betty's Village 3 years ago. My husband and I. He's 79, I'm 65. So, we were thinking about after we're gone. And she went there and for their grand opening, and she always said she was going to live with us until we were gone. And we went to the grand opening, and she looked at me when we were walking out to the parking lot, and she goes, "I've got some thinking to do." She's so happy there. She has her own unit. It's all this color. She decorated it herself. I can maybe move this over. You want to talk a little? There you go. I don't know is it on?
It should be, yeah. And I decorated my place, my place, and I'm hoping to stay there with the help of Medicaid and Medicare, and I'm like really close to work, so I just roll up and roll back, so.
Got a path from Opportunity to Betty's Village, and she rolls to work every day. She doesn't have to sit on the bus for an hour and a half to get to work now. It's a 5-minute trip.
Oh, a minute trip.
Yeah, it's so important to keep the people there in their homes. They deserve these homes. And like, a lot of them said, these, our kids don't have, through no fault of their own, they need the assistance. And we just hope you fight as hard as you can for the funding for Medicaid and to keep them in their homes that they've worked so hard to get into. Thank you so much.
Thank you both. Thank you for your comments. We appreciate all of you being here today and being a part of these proceedings. Okay, members, we are now going to open the hearing on Assembly Bill 220. We will invite our bill presenter to the table. And as she gets settled, you are welcome to begin whenever you are ready.
Thank you, Chair Brown May, Vice Chair Wynn, and fellow members of the committee. I am Linda Hunt, Linda-Hunt, and I have the honor of representing Assembly District 17 in North Las Vegas. I am proud to be here this afternoon to present Assembly Bill 220. This bill authorized the Department of Health and Human Services to establish and administer a program for issuing identification cards to residents of this state who are experiencing homelessness. Access to ID is a fundamental necessity, yet many homeless individuals face significant barriers to obtaining an ID due to their inability to travel to the Department of Motor Vehicle offices. By allowing the department to issue IDs where many experiencing homelessness are already seeking assistance, we can remove a major obstacle and ensure access to essential services such as employment opportunity, housing programs that requires a valid ID. This bill, AB 220, is a crucial step in providing a practical solution to a long-standing issue faced by our homeless population while taking pressure off the DMV as well. So what this bill is basically about access in one stop. So Chair May Brown, if I may now would like to do a walkthrough of the bill. Chair Brown May, I'm sorry. No, I'm not nervous at all. I would like to do a walkthrough of the bill.
Please go right ahead, and we're right here with you. We're cheering with you.
Thank you. Okay, so Section 1 of the bill amends Chapter NRS 422A. Section 2 basically set up the definition of certain words used in the statutes. Section 3 defines full legal name. Section 4 defines identification cards. Section 5 defines person experiencing homelessness. Section 6 defines residents. Okay, now Section 7, it empowers Department of Health and Human Services to create and manage a program for issuing identification cards to residents aged 10 or older who are experiencing homelessness and do not possess a valid driver's license or identification card from any state or jurisdiction. It also prohibits the DHHS from charging fees for the issuance, renewal, or replacement of these identification cards. But it allows the DHHS to accept gifts, grants, and donations to fund the program. Section 8 defines the design specification, such as the identification card must resemble those issued by the Department of Motor Vehicle, distinguishable in color or other features to indicate their unique purpose. It also defines the regulatory requirements, which is that the department is mandated to adopt regulations specifying the information that must be on these identification cards. So now I'll move to Section 9. This provision ensures that the DHHS issue identification cards only to Nevada residents who are experiencing homelessness and lack other forms of valid identification. Section 10 specified that the Department of Health and Human Services cannot issue an identification card to an applicant who fails to provide the required information as outlined in Section 8 of this bill. Section 11 outlines the procedure for individuals to request a legal name change on their state-issued identification card. It requires such individuals to submit a formal request to the DHHS to initiate the name change process. Additionally, this section also prohibits the DHHS from charging or collecting a fee for processing these name changes. Section 12 addresses the issuing of identification cards and renewals for individuals who are registered sex offenders or offenders convicted of crimes against children. Section 13 addresses how long the identification card stays in effect. It remains valid until expiration as long as the facts don't change. It also addresses when identification card must be surrendered. Section 14, the department will adopt regulations that will prescribe when the identification card will expire. Section 15 allows the person to acquire a duplicate card if it was lost or destroyed. Section 16 addresses penalty for forging, refusing to surrender, lending, and willfully failing to surrender someone else's card. All of these are misdemeanors. Section 17 add duties to be carried out by DHHS. Section 18 authorize certain local government to accept a card issued by DHHS. That concludes my bill presentation. Now I'm open for questions.
Thank you. Members, any questions? Assemblymember Hafen.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Member Hunt. I appreciate you bringing this forward. The question that I have, you might not have the answer, but I see Sean Sever with the DMV here. He might be able to help us. I know in previous sessions, we've done similar bills where we give various groups free identification. And so I was just wondering if there is a list available for us to see who we currently give free identification for. And then my follow-up question would be, are there other groups that maybe we should also include in this language? And so I don't know if you can answer it, or if DMV or DHHS, or if you want to circle back with me and follow up later.
Before you reply, I'm happy to have either of the experts or both of the experts. If you'd like to come alongside and offer whatever insight you have, you're welcome. Mr. Sever from DMV, Mr. Whitley from DHHS. It's completely up to you if you'd like to offer additional information. So just to repeat the question, who do we do this for now? Yes, is that correct? Thank you.
Yes, Sean Sever from the Nevada DMV. We currently do this for the homeless population at the DMV, and it's unlimited renewals up to 25 years of age, but over 25 years of age is a one-time.
If I may, Richard Whitley, Director for Department of Health and Human Services. So, as stated, the actual issuance of the ID is at no cost. This is from legislation that passed last session. The challenge for us is in our eligibility offices, people getting to an appointment at DMV is the barrier. And so from our perspective, having the ability to issue the photo ID sort of in a one-stop process, we're not opening it up to another population that gets ID for free. We're just making the access more available where people are being seen in our eligibility offices.
And then my follow-up, probably Director Whitley, if you see other populations throughout our state that these services could benefit from, could you just maybe notify us and the bill sponsor so we can maybe work towards that as well? And thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Assemblymember Jackson.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the presentation, Ms. Hunt. You were not nervous at all. How will
Assemblymember Jackson, is your microphone on?
Mic check. How will giving ID cards to homeless people help access to important services in Nevada?
Linda Hunt for the record. Thank you for the question. You know, they go to the welfare office for most services anyway. And if they get their ID there, instead of having to travel all the way over to DMV, which a lot of them don't have that transportation to go there, they can get all these services in the welfare office at that moment while they're there obtaining the ID. So that was the goal, so that we can help these people. Did I answer your question? Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Assemblymember Gonzalez.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you so much for the presentation. You did great. I just had a clarifying question in your presentation, and I don't know, I just was trying to listen. Did you say that they would look different or they wouldn't look different? And yeah, thank you.
Thank you for the question. Linda Hunt for the record. Yes, that goes under Section 8. It defines the design specification, such as the identification card must resemble those issued by the Department of Motor Vehicle, distinguishable in color, or other features and other features to indicate their unique purpose.
Thank you so much. So they would look different than a regular ID and or driver's license?
Linda Hunt for the record. That question I will refer to the experts in the subject matter, which is Mr. Severs from DMV.
Yeah, Sean Sever from the DMV. This is kind of a separate process than what we do currently at the DMV, so I'm not sure what they would look like. But I plan on coming up in the neutral part of the presentation. But anyway, we kind of look at this as a temporary ID until you get over to the DMV to get your driver's license or permanent identification.
Thank you. You have a question? Yes, Assemblymember Edgeworth.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for this presentation. You did a great job. Good job, you. I say that because I'm going next. So, just saying. Okay. No, I'm just kidding. You did a good job. So, my question is that I work with a lot of homeless populations, and I know that the biggest barrier seems like getting their birth certificate, right? Because the usual process, if I'm correct, is you need a birth certificate, and then the DMV is able to issue it. So, my question is, I'm guessing that this is temporary, and so it goes around the birth certificate, so it's a self-reported name. You don't, technically you're giving the name that you say is the name that'll be on the ID. Is that correct?
For the record, Richard Whitley, we're already determining eligibility for programs such as Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program or food stamps, Medicaid, temporary assistance for needy family, which does require verification, so it's much more rigor than just self-reported. And so it is verifiable with not only identity, but with income.
Thank you. Any other questions, members? Go ahead, Assemblymember Gray.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I understand what you're trying to do, and I do appreciate it. Actually, I had a brother that was homeless up until last session when he passed, but it was always a problem when I got out of prison trying to get him an ID. But recreating the wheel, I mean, law enforcement's going to have to understand, these new IDs. I mean, everybody's going to have to get used to them. Wouldn't it be just more effective to assist them in getting appointments at the DMV to get a real ID? And I don't mean real ID as in the federal, but I mean an actual state-issued ID that's verified in them. I mean, people would need to help them get their birth certificates and things like that, but it just seems like that this is just recreating the wheel, and people may become reliant on it.
Linda Hunt for the record. Thank you, Assemblyman Gray, for that question. The purpose is to have a one stop where they can get everything. And if they can get their ID while they're there, then they can get all the other services instead of having to travel all the way over to DMV. Sometimes it's hard for them to get to the DMV, so they never get their ID. They never get the services needed. And I think this right here, this can possibly help in so many different ways. It help people turn their lives around. And that's one of the goals that I have in this bill as well. To help them get what they need without all of the pressures, all of the stress. Even take pressure off the DMV, where they can do other services while DHHS is doing these services. So I think it's a great thing. Did I answer your question? If not, you can do ask Chair for a follow-up.
Chair, may I have a follow-up, please? So, and I appreciate what you're trying to do, like I said, but it's just, I mean, not getting them a real state ID is it's going to be problematic in a lot of ways. But the first thing that comes to mind is, how are you, if they're walking in for the first time and getting an ID, how are you validating who they are. What if, what's to stop somebody coming in 3, 4, 5 times getting different IDs?
Linda Hunt for the record. It states in the bill, let me find the section, where they have to have certain qualifications to obtain the ID. They can't just walk in and say, oh, yeah, I need an ID. They have to have something to prove that they are who they are. And then if they have another ID, they are not qualified. They can't have another ID in the state of Nevada or any other jurisdiction. So, but there are guidelines for the qualifications, and it's outlined in the bill. Like some people have birth certificates. You may be homeless. You may have just became homeless, but you still have a birth certificate. You just don't have your ID. You may have another form of ID that can verify who you are. It's so many different ways, but it's going to be done legally, and going to be done legally. It's going to make sure that it is the person who say they are. It won't be issued if they can't prove that they are who they are.
Chair, can I have one more follow-up? So with this ID then, is that going to, is the DMV, and this one's for the DMV, will you guys accept that ID then to get a real estate ID at that point?
Sean Sever from the Nevada DMV. I don't believe so. I think you'll still need all your regular documents you'll need especially for a real ID. Those are federal guidelines.
Thank you.
Thank you. I do have one question, Assemblymember Hunt. I'm curious to know, in Section 12, it starts to talk about an offender, and then subsection 4 talks about the department may adopt regulations to carry out the provisions of this section with regard to a central repository, and that offender includes without limitation an offender convicted of a crime against a child. So it looks like the DHHS is going to have responsibility to identify in their database if they're issuing an ID for a sex offender. I'm just curious to know, is this a new provision for DHHS? Is it something that the division does currently? Could you enlighten us about that?
For the record, Richard Whitley, I mean, it would be a new activity for the welfare division. They don't currently note that on eligibility documentation. But the nice thing in allowing regulations would be to work out the detail and to work with DMV on what is required. And there is a lot of detail that needs to occur probably to work that out. And that lends itself to the regulatory process, I believe.
Thank you. I believe we have one more question, Assemblymember Jackson.
Thank you, Chair. So these homeless IDs that we're talking about, could they be used for healthcare services? I know waiting for your birth certificate, especially someone homeless, that could take months, and a lot of healthcare services require identification cards. Can these homeless identification cards be used for healthcare?
For the record, Richard Whitley, were you asking me? Or I'm sorry. I was, for Medicaid, I could speak to that, but I think that, again, the problem is we already have the authority to set an appointment and refer the folks over. Having all this documentation to get your photo ID is also challenging, I think, for people that are unhoused to keep all your documentation together. And so the centralizing of it with welfare, I think, helps with all of the support. If a provider did question and want to verify identification, then yes. But the issuance of the eligibility typically serves that purpose for Medicaid.
Thank you. And I we have apparently one more, Assemblymember Koenig.
Thank you, Chair. So I'm looking at the definitions on page 3, section 5, and maybe you just need to educate me a little bit here, but it says a person experiencing homelessness means a person who is transient, at imminent risk of homelessness, or homeless. So I mean, the homeless part makes sense to me. How do we decide if someone is at imminent risk of homelessness, and what about the transient part?
Linda Hunt for the record. I'm going to refer that question to Mr. Whitley.
Before you reply, it's okay. If we don't have the answer to the question, we can certainly follow up. This was not a gotcha moment. I appreciate that both of our experts willingly took the table and were not originally planned to be a part of this bill presentation. So if you don't have anything to offer, that's quite all right.
Yes, I can take that in an email or something later. That wasn't a gotcha question. That was an actual, I don't quite understand what that says, so sorry.
Linda Hunt for the record. Thank you, Assemblymember Coyne. That was a good question, and I will get that information over to you.
Okay, seeing no other questions at this time, we'll ask you to go ahead and step back. At this time, we will open up the microphone for those who are here in support of Assembly Bill 220. If you are here in support in Carson City, please come forward and take the table. Remember to state and spell your name for the record. Anyone in support in Las Vegas is welcome to come forward. Again, for Assembly Bill 220. Thank you. You may begin when you're ready.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Amy Hines Sutherland, HYNE-SUTHERLAND. I am the Health and Human Services Manager for the Nevada Association of Counties, or NACO. NACO serves as the statewide association that represents all 17 of Nevada's counties. We support AB 220. We want to thank Assemblymember Hunt for bringing this bill. This bill will help counties better serve vulnerable populations and reduce administrative burdens for human services staff. Identification enables individuals to access essential services, secure housing and employment, and interact with local service agencies more efficiently. With the pathway to identification through the Department of Health and Human Services, individuals are better able to learn about and get connected to the available resources that will enable them to rebuild stability in their lives. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair, members of the committee. Joanna Jacob on behalf of Clark County. I just wanted to agree with the comments on behalf of NACO, specifically on behalf of Clark County. We, on several of our non-congregate shelters and our navigation center, we work to enroll people in Medicaid, and in partnership with DHHS, we see a great benefit to this bill and having the one-stop shop that you heard from Assemblymember Hunt and Director Whitley here in obtaining identification, which is often a barrier to trying to access the wraparound services that we are trying to build in to our Clark County homeless continuum of care. So on that on those basis, I guess we are here in support, and also my colleague Cadence Matijevich. I'm not going to spell her last name. It's Matijevich. I think on behalf of Washoe County, she did authorize me to say on behalf of Washoe County Human Services on the same basis here in support as well. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Kayla Maese, spelled Kaylah. Last name is Maese. I'm a civil rights analyst at the ACLU of Nevada. We want to thank Assemblymember Hunt for bringing forth a practical solution to help those experiencing homelessness receive identification cards, and the ACLU of Nevada strongly supports AB 220. Thank you.
Chair Brown May, members of the committee, Jonathan Norman, JONATHAN, NORMAN, with the Nevada Coalition of Legal Service Providers. I want to thank the Assembly member for bringing this bill. I think it's common sense to have people be able to get that ID at locations they already visit. If you've ever tried to navigate across Clark County on public transportation. If you don't have a vehicle, you'll know how difficult it is. And then I did have a thought on imminent risk of homelessness. Like, I think of people who have an eviction, are pending eviction and have no place to go, or people exiting NDOC who have no place to go. Those are who I think of when I think of imminent risk of homelessness. The assembly member may have a different answer or more well-rounded answer, but that's what I think of. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon. My name is Nick Sheepak, Nickshepak, and I am the Nevada State Director of the Fines and Fees Justice Center. We want to thank the Assembly member for bringing this important bill. For many sessions now, we have been working on different types of identification and ensuring that vulnerable individuals have access to that identification. From the Fines and Fees Justice Center perspective, one of the most important things that we have to do is ensure that there is no cost barrier. We made headway with that with incarcerated individuals last session as they leave the Nevada Department of Corrections, as well as with individuals experiencing homelessness last session. But the next big barrier to receiving identification is the difficulty of getting to the DMV. We hear this for all these vulnerable populations. So whether we're talking about this, making sure we have a one-stop shop, or increasing access to IDs in our jails and our prisons, there are many ways we can ensure that people have these IDs, which are absolutely necessary to navigating the world and getting back on their feet. For those reasons, we support this legislation. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Angela Knott with the Washoe County Public Defender's Office, ANGELA-KNOTT. We support AB 220. A large focus of our office is helping individuals obtain resources like mental health services, supportive housing, transportation, shelters, and employment opportunities. AB 220 helps with that focus. This ID can help unhoused individuals access essential services like shelters and community housing, food banks, and employment. Rebuilding a life from scratch is not easy. We represent many unhoused individuals, and for the vast majority of them, they just need that extra bit of help to turn their lives around and close the door on the criminal justice system. AB 220 may also help prevent unhoused individuals from entering the criminal justice system altogether. This bill makes it a bit easier for them to pursue a more stable lifestyle. Let's take these small steps, like obtaining an ID card for unhoused individuals, to create a path to success. Success does come in many different forms, but access to opportunities is essential, and AB 220 is a step in the right direction. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Paloma Guerrero, PALOMA-GUERERO, on behalf of the Clark County Public Defender's Office. And for all of the reasons my Washoe counterpart said, we strongly support this bill. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair, Committee, Zach Bucher, ZACHBUCHER, great city of North Las Vegas. It's hard to be original when you're number 10, so I will just ditto all the previous comments. Thank the Assembly member for the good bill, good common sense bill, and appreciate if you would consider it. Thank you.
Thank you. If there's anyone else here in support of Assembly Bill 220 up here in Carson City, please come forward. At this time, we'll move down to Las Vegas. If you are here in support, you may begin.
Hello, my name is Brian Begay, BRIAN-BEGAY. I come as a lived experience person giving a testimony. I want to thank Assembly Member Linda Hunt for bringing forward AB 220 and recognizing how important this issue is. I fully support this bill because I've lived the reality of being homeless and without an ID. When I lost mine, I had no idea how much of my life depended on that one little piece of plastic, and until every door started closing on me. I wanted to work, but I couldn't even fill out a job application without an ID. I couldn't even pick up my EBT card for food assistance in some offices. I was giving a clarity card, but most places wouldn't take it. People assumed it was fake. No matter how hard I tried to move forward, I kept getting told no because I couldn't prove who I was. The hardest part was not being able to get medical care. I was eligible for Medicaid, but without a valid ID, I couldn't get certain procedures covered, including surgeries I needed. It's hard to describe how frustrating and dehumanizing it feels to be in pain and be told, sorry, we can't help you. AB 220 would change this for so many people. It would give them the chance to work, to access services, to take care of their health, and to finally move forward. An ID isn't just a card, it's the key to rebuilding a life. I urge you to pass this bill because no one should be stuck in homelessness just because they don't have an ID. Thank you for your time.
Hi, my name is Dr. Katrina Grigsby Thetford, Catrina Grigsby Tedford. So thank you, Assembly woman, Assembly person Hunt, for bringing this bill. I am the executive director of Nevada Homeless Alliance down here in Las Vegas, and we see firsthand this challenge with the population we serve, which is primarily people experiencing unsheltered or sheltered homelessness. Back in 2022, 2021, we were awarded some funds through ARPA to help the community, and we chose to do a barrier busting program where we focus primarily on identification restoration. We, within the time period between May of 2022 and January of 2024, we assisted with about 850 birth certificates and about 1,800 IDs. And there were so many more people that needed this service that we were unable to serve. So just having this service in a general location, there was always a challenge with getting people to the DMV, making appointments. Just having it in a general location where many of our clients are going to get EBT cards as well as sign up for Medicaid. And to be able to get that ID at the same time is going to be just life-changing for so many. Again, like other people said, in order to get housing, employment, and some benefits, you need an ID, right? This population has those transportation barriers. They have the barriers with money to get ID. They have the barriers with having no address, and having this centralized location where hopefully they can also pick up their ID and not have to have an address. This is going to be great. So I just want to thank the Assembly member again for this, and I just hope that this passes and you guys all support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in Las Vegas wishing to offer testimony in support of Assembly Bill 220? I can't see the table. Thank you so much. And seeing no one here in Carson City wishing to offer additional public or testimony in support, AVH, is there anyone on the telephone line wishing to offer support for Assembly Bill 220?
If you would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 220, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Maria Teresa Hank, MariaTeresa and I'm a union member of TWU Local 556, and I strongly urge the committee to support this bill. Thank you.
Chair, there are no other callers that want to testify in support at this time.
Thank you, AVH. At this time, we'll move into opposition. Is there anyone here that would like to offer testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 220? Please come forward in Carson City. Seeing none, anyone wishing to offer testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 220 in Las Vegas, please come forward. I see no movement there. AVH, is there anyone on the telephone line in opposition of Assembly Bill 220?
If you would like to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 220, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers wishing to testify in opposition at this time.
Thank you, AVH. At this time, we'll move into neutral testimony. Is there anyone here who would like to offer comment in neutral? Please come forward to take the table. Same in Las Vegas. Anyone, you're welcome to fill in the chairs if you would like to offer neutral testimony. You may begin when you are ready.
Thank you, Chair. Sean Sever from the Nevada DMV again. And as I mentioned before, we are neutral on AB 220, and we'd like to thank the bill sponsor for reaching out to us on the bill. We did submit a 0 fiscal note on this bill, so I think that's important to point out. We don't always do that. We do help homeless individuals without appointments once they get to the DMV, and as I mentioned before, we look at this as kind of a temporary ID before someone gets to the DMV. And once they get there, we are bound by federal requirements on ID issuance. So we are happy to work with the bill sponsors on this bill moving forward. Thanks.
Good afternoon, Kelly Cantrell, Deputy Administrator with the Division of Welfare and Supportive Services, also testifying in neutral today for this bill. We also are happy to work with the bill sponsors and provide any information that might be needed on how we could accomplish this and what it would look like moving forward. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here in neutral? No, seeing no one in Las Vegas. AVH, is there anyone on the telephone line wishing to testify in neutral on Assembly Bill 220?
If you would like to testify in neutral for Assembly Bill 220, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue.
Good morning or good afternoon. Could you guys hear me okay, Madam Chair?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Tracy Brown May, and good afternoon to you and the rest of the committee. My name is Dora Martinez. We are in neutral. It just concerns me, considering the questions that we voted last year regarding voting. Just hope that this does not bring more confusion to what the Assemblywoman Hunt is trying to do. I appreciate that thought. And also last session 422A/697, all the homeless shelters can use their post office box to obtain an ID. And also, if Mr. Sefer from DMV would provide the link for the accessibility online to apply for ID, I think that will be sufficient too. So thank you, Madam Chair, and happy Developmental Disability Week. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm getting good.
Chair, there are no other callers to testify in neutral at this time.
Thank you, AVH. At this time, we'll invite our bill sponsor up for any closing comments.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Linda Hunt for the record. I just want to thank Madam Chair, Co-Chair Wynn, and the committee, and I'm asking you guys to support AB 220. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Thank you. At this time, we will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 220. Next on our agenda, we will open the hearing for Assembly Bill 221 and welcome Assemblymember Edgeworth. You may begin when you are ready.
I have someone joining me. Dr. Mark Deegan is going to join me. There he is. Great. Good afternoon, Chair Brown May, Vice Chair Wen, and fellow members of my committee. I'm Dr. Rebecca Edgeworth. I have the honor of representing Assembly District 35, which is in Las Vegas. I'm happy to be here to present Assembly Bill 221. As a physician, I have a lot of medical and dental people coming to me and asking me to champion their bills. This one is a pretty easy one, pretty straightforward. Not trying to jinx it, but I think it's pretty straightforward. Hopefully, let's see how it goes. My constituents and everyone I talk to pretty much really wants medical care to be better in Nevada, and I think it's a common theme that we would like more access to quality health care here in Nevada, and this is towards that end. This law will only affect a handful of people in the state of Nevada. It's people who choose to be both a medical doctor and which is an MD, and a DMD, which is a doctor of medical dentistry. These are dentists who essentially, an MD, DMD does essentially the same thing as a DMD. So we're talking about exempting those people that have both an MD, DMD from some of the regulation that's required. And joining me today is Dr. Mark Deegan, who is one of those handful of individuals that is an MD, DMD here in the state, and this bill would directly affect him. So he's going to talk about the background, and then I will very briefly go through exactly who this bill will affect after he speaks. So, Dr. Deegan?
Hi, thank you. My name is Dr. Mark Deegan, Markdegen. So oral and maxillofacial, sorry about that. I'm representing myself and I'm in favor of the bill. So oral maxillofacial surgery was the first recognized specialty of dentistry, and it specializes in the treatment of surgical problems related to the teeth, the jaws, and the face. Oral and maxillofacial surgeons complete dental school and undergo a 4 to 6 year residency that includes training in anesthesia and in addition to our surgical training. The surgery we perform is covered by the Nevada State Dental Practice Act. Numerous oral and maxillofacial surgeons in Nevada and across the country have also increased their education and training to obtain an MD degree, a medical doctor of medicine degree. Whether dental only or medical and dental dual licensed, we regularly perform surgery in our office under general anesthesia. The Nevada State Board of Dental Examiners has been regulating dental specialty licensed oral and maxillofacial surgeons performing office-based procedures under general anesthesia or IV sedation since 1983. This oversight includes a site visit every 5 years where the facility is checked for functioning safety equipment, medications, where a general anesthetic is observed and the dental practitioner is tested on their knowledge of how to handle emergency situations. They also ask for evidence of emergency drills performed in the office. We are also required to obtain increased continuing education in anesthesia, as well as maintaining certification in basic life support, advanced cardiovascular life support, and pediatric advanced life support. In response to dangerous propofol practices that caused the hepatitis C outbreak at a Las Vegas endoscopy center in 2007, the Nevada Legislature passed AB 123 in 2009. This bill's intention was never to double regulate an already regulated specialty, the oral and maxillofacial surgeon, but rather to regulate office-based anesthesia for surgery performed by MDs in a location other than a hospital. In addition to surgery centers, the bill requires any physician's office providing services involving anesthesia or sedation to obtain a state site permit and accreditation through a recognized national organization. Compliance with regulations from both dental and medical boards is redundant and onerous to oral and maxillofacial surgeons on numerous levels. The time spent ensuring that all paperwork for all entities involved are completed and correct, in addition to having to submit to multiple inspections, could be used better by tending to the needs of our patients. We also have to shoulder the burden of those extra costs ourselves, which may exceed amounts of greater than $5,000 per year. Furthermore, the additional paperwork, inspections, and fees do not increase beneficial patient outcomes, nor do they prevent potential anesthesia complications as compared to the single degree and dental only licensed oral and maxillofacial surgeons. We also do not get any additional reimbursement from insurance companies as compared to our single licensed colleagues either. Moreover, as I'm practicing over 21 years in Las Vegas, the insurance reimbursements for both procedure and anesthesia services have not increased substantially at all. They do not keep up with the cost of living increases nor with inflation. However, our expenses, including supplies and employee wages, especially in recent years, have gone up dramatically. This may force the dual licensed oral and maxillofacial surgeons to leave the state, retire early, or sell their practices to private equity or large dental corporations. Also, I think it's very much in the interest of the citizens of the state of Nevada to entice good, smart, and hardworking young doctors, including dual-degreed oral and maxillofacial surgeons, to come practice here. However, these onerous and redundant regulations will ensure avoidance of this state. And in fact, no new dual-licensed oral and maxillofacial surgeons have come to Nevada to practice since the inception of AB 123, except for one well over a decade ago. A significant amount of the other states with similar regulatory redundancies, including California, have carved out exemptions for dual-licensed oral and maxillofacial surgeons, and we hope that Nevada will follow by implementing a similar solution as well. Thank you.
Microphone.
Sorry. Rebecca Edgeworth for the record. I am, very briefly, I'm not going to go through the whole bill because it's pretty straightforward, but we're just trying to get physicians exempt from being dual dinged for this. But you have to be licensed as a dentist in Nevada. You have to hold a permit from the Board of Dental Examiners to administer general anesthesia. You have to already have that regulation. And then we are only seeking an exemption for physicians who are doing dental work. If a physician wanted to also do tummy tucks or something like that, that is not what we're talking about. We're talking about MD, DMDs that are doing the same exact thing as DMDs. It's worth noting that Nevada is one of only 2 states in the United States that does this particular regulation, and we don't want to be the very last one. We don't want to be that person, right? Yeah, so with that, Dr. Deegan and I are very excited to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. I believe we have a few. Let's start with Assemblymember Goulding.
Hi, thank you, Chair. Are there any other dual licensure situations that would benefit from a similar, would benefit in the bill from, that are struggling with the same challenge?
Thank you for the question, Rebecca Edgeworth, for the record. Not that I'm aware of. I mean, it's theoretically possible, but I've never been made aware of that.
Thank you. Next is Assemblymember Jackson.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the presentation. So to my understanding that these professionals have to ask for 2 permits to do the service. Are you requesting that either they just have 1 permit, or you're saying getting rid of both permit processes?
Microphone.
Goes off by itself. So convenient. Yes. So thank you for the question, Assemblymember Jackson. Rebecca Edgeworth for the record. What we're seeking to do is dentists were always licensed under dental. They were always inspected and all of that under dental. Then there was a law that came to be where MDs were being required to do extra things because of a Hep C outbreak that happened. What we're seeking to do is exempt people who are MD, DMDs and just put them back to exactly what it was for all of the DMDs before that law came into effect. So they would, of course, go under dental, just like every other dentist, just like all my dental friends that are sitting in the hall right there.
Thank you. Assemblymember Hibbets.
Thank you, Chair. You said in the presentation that this would affect only a handful of people that hold both dual DMD and MD licenses. Do you have a more accurate number, or could you get it for the committee?
Thank you for the question. This is Rebecca Edgeworth for the record. I think I've talked to all of them. I think that there is my estimate is that there's about 7 of them that I'm aware of. We can check business licenses to see if I'm off. But Dr. Deegan, is that about your calculation? They all know each other.
Yeah, that's about right.
So
sorry, it's Dr. Mark Deegan for the record.
You're better than me. Good job. Rebecca Edgeworth for the record. So what I would say is that this is about helping those handful of people, but what this really is it's keeping people from practicing in Nevada. We need more people practicing in Nevada, and it's punishing people who have had extra training. So if we would like to entice more access to quality care, we should be getting rid of burdensome things like this.
Thank you. Assemblymember Gonzalez.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for the presentation. So I just wanted to follow back up on your last comment about how burdensome this is. Can you really speak to how burdensome this is? And my follow-up question, if the chair will allow, is are they still going to have the same regulations if we undo this?
Rebecca Edgeworth for the record. How burdensome it is, Dr. Deegan touched on it with his presentation, but Dr. Deegan, do you want to summarize what the burden? There's a financial burden, there's a lot of work that needs to be done, as you can imagine. Dr. Deegan, would you like to mention your burden?
Yes, thank you. This is Dr. Mark Deegan for the record. So there's a tremendous amount of paperwork that has to be done for the national accreditation that we have to do, whether it's the Joint Commission or AAAHC. There's we already have policies in place, but this is extra paperwork that they specifically required to see. There's also the cost that's involved with the accreditation. It could run anywhere from, it's a triennial survey, so they can run from $8,000 to $12,000 every 3 years, with the initial permit from the medical board, State Board of Health, runs about $3,700. It's about $2,000 a year to renew that permit. The extra cost, the paperwork involved. There are also multiple inspections where we get inspected multiple times by different entities, from the national national accreditation agency to the state comes to inspect from the medical board. We also get the dental board inspections. So there's 3 different inspections basically looking at the same thing. When prior to this bill that came out in 2009, we've already been inspected with our policies and procedures, infection control, anesthesia, and now we're having to undergo 2 more inspections and basically we're doing the same procedures as the single degree, single licensed oral surgeons who only have to undergo the dental board inspection.
Rebecca Edgeworth for the record. That is a really very good question. But as far as, I think the other part of your question was undoing it. What we're trying to do is the law AB 123 that came out in 2009 was supposed to increase oversight of physicians. But the unintended consequence is that it affected this handful of people that are MD, DMDs that were already being inspected by the dental board. What we're seeking to do is just have them exempt from that additional law that never really was supposed to be for them.
Members, any additional questions? Seeing none, I'll ask you to step back, and we will now open up testimony in support of Assembly Bill 221. If you are here and would like to offer support of Assembly Bill 221, please come forward and fill in the chairs here in Las Vegas as well as Carson City. Thank you. We'll start in Las Vegas. You may begin when you're ready. You have 2 minutes. Please state and spell your name for the record. You'll need to turn your microphone on. I can't hear you in Carson City.
Good afternoon. My name is Dr. James Mah, James-M-A-H. I serve as the Dean of the UNLV School of Dental Medicine. We're the largest single-site provider of dental care in Nevada, with over 75,000 patient visits a year. Within that demographic, we see a large number of individuals that are underinsured or have no insurance. And we're very cognizant of the sensitivity of cost of healthcare, particularly rising costs and its problems associated with access to healthcare and having more comprehensive treatments. Anything that we can do to remove a duplication. And I think we also know at the same time that the cost of healthcare continues to rise. Part of that is for regulatory compliance. Herein, we have a situation where we have a duplication of individuals having 2 permits to do the exact same thing. And I think that's a move in the right direction. If we can reduce the administrative burden and the costs associated with it, I think it'll translate into reduced overhead and reduced care for our patients. Accordingly, I support Assembly Bill 221. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in Las Vegas wishing to offer support for Assembly Bill 221?
Dr. Steven Sachs, Stevensaxe, for the record. I am the president of the Nevada State Society of Oral and Maxillofacial Surgeons. I am a single degree oral surgeon, and I'm here to show our support as an organization of this bill. For many years, the dental community who deliver general anesthesia have been permitted and safely practicing general anesthesia practices in our private offices for several years before the bill came about, and has become cumbersome on my colleagues who have double degrees of not only dentistry but their physicians, and we feel that this is an unnecessary burden. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Assembly members. My name is Dr. Fan Nguyen. I have been a practicing dentistry for over 23 years. As a private practice owner, I know the firsthand of the high cost it takes to run a quality, patient-centric dental practice. On top of worrying about day-to-day operation, we have to be on top of new government regulations that come out every year. These regulations always have an added price tag attached to it. They are always hundreds to thousands of dollars in added expenses that we have to pay for, in addition to the thousands we pay for in annual state and federal fees. These fees eventually have to trickle down to our patients in order to keep our practice solvent. Having the medical and dental board both charge for the same privilege of making dental treatment for our patients more comfortable is simply redundant regulations that adds to the cost of dental treatment. Oral surgeons who have medical and dental licenses have extensive training that are above and beyond the general dentist. They have the expertise and professional judgment to know what dental surgical cases can be safely done in their office and which need to be done in surgical centers or hospitals. I encourage you to support AB 221 because it will reduce overregulation and make it more affordable for the general public to afford sedation under the care of highly trained Nevada oral surgeons. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here in Carson City or in Las Vegas wishing to offer testimony in support of Assembly Bill 221? Seeing no one. AVH, is there anyone on the telephone line wishing to offer support for Assembly Bill 221?
If you would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 221, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. You may begin.
Good afternoon, Chair Brown-May, Vice Chair Nguyen, and members of the Assembly Health and Human Services Committee. My name is Sarah Watkins, and I represent the Nevada State Medical Association, the oldest and largest organization representing physicians in our state. We'd like to thank Assemblymember Edgewood for bringing forth this bill. NSMA is always supportive of efforts to streamline healthcare in Nevada and eliminate redundancies that contribute to increased costs while ensuring all safety measures are in place to protect patient well-being. We are fully in support of AB 221. Thank you.
There are no other callers choosing to testify in support at this time.
Thank you, AVH. At this time, we'll move into opposition. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to offer testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 221? Seeing none. Las Vegas, anyone wishing to offer testimony in opposition? No movement. AVH, is there anyone on the telephone line wishing to offer testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 221?
If you would like to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 221, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers choosing to testify in opposition at this time.
Thank you, AVH. At this time, we'll move into neutral testimony. Anyone here wishing to offer testimony neutral? Thank you. Please come forward here in Carson City. Anyone in Las Vegas is welcome to come forward also. You may begin when you're ready.
Thank you so much, Chair Brown-May and committee members. My name is Cody Finney, and I serve as the administrator of the Division of Public and Behavioral Health. That division currently includes the Bureau of Healthcare Quality and Compliance, and you will note in your materials that we have a fiscal note on this bill that describes the loss of about $9,000 a year in revenue. That is because we have about 5 current permits that we would no longer continue based on this being exempt from our permitting process. That amount of money, I want to make sure it's clear to the committee, would not change the number of people we have working, and we have work for them to do on other permitting processes. So I wanted to make sure that that was clear. But the rules say that we do have to have a fiscal note if it's more than $2,000. and perhaps I'm not supposed to admit this publicly, but the challenge of that distinction between that threshold and the $9,000 kind of flummoxed us a little bit. But time makes you bolder, and I am here to tell you that we did not find a problem with this. It turns out I've been here a long time now. So thank you so much, and I'm happy to answer any questions about HCQC.
Thank you for the comments. I don't think we have questions. Thank you so much for that. Seeing no one in Las Vegas wishing to offer testimony. AVH, is there anyone on the phone lines neutral testimony at this time?
The public line is open and working. There are no callers to testify in neutral at this time.
Thank you. We'll invite the bill sponsor back for closing comments. You may begin.
Thank you, Rebecca Edgeworth, for the record. Thank you, Chair Brown May and members of the committee for your consideration of AB 221. I urge you to support the bill, and I'm happy to answer any other questions offline should you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. At this time, we will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 221. Okay, that leads us to the next part of our agenda today. We are now moving into public comment, so we will open up time for public comment. As a reminder, each person has 2 minutes to provide testimony. Public comment can be submitted to this committee up to 24 hours after a hearing. If there is anyone here in Carson City wishing to give us public comment, please come in, fill in the seats. Remember to state and spell your name for the record. 2 minutes. I will prompt you. You may begin when you are ready.
Good afternoon, and thank you. Is it on? Yeah. Good afternoon. Thank you for allowing us to be here. My name is Chrissy Costanza, CHRISSY, last name COSTANZA. And I'd just like to say that there were nearly 35 of us that traveled up here from Las Vegas yesterday, some of which haven't traveled in quite some time due to the difficulties of navigating an airport, those that cannot ride on a bus. And they're all here to support, to advocate for themselves and the importance of Medicaid and for their housing. And I mean, when you look back and you see the faces of everybody and they're smiling and they're very happy. They're very happy, but they're also, you look next to them at their parents and they are very worried. And they are very worried that their child is not going to be able to get the medical necessities that they need, that they are not going to be able to keep the house that they have dreamed of having, the apartment, and especially in Betty's Village, that they have dreamed of having. And that they had hoped one day when they passed, their child was going to be okay. Their child was going to be set for their future. And now that is all in question. And to take that dream away from these individuals and their families is devastating. It's devastating to everybody. And I would just hope that you would please do not vote towards the cutting of Medicaid funding, for not only for myself and my family, my brother, but also the 35 individuals that have traveled here and the 90 plus individuals in Southern Nevada. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Victoria Gonzalez. It's Victoria Gonzalez, Gonzales. I'm here regarding the whole Medicaid and the Betty's Village. I am currently living at Betty's Village. I've been there for 3.5 years. Very happy about it. And Opportunity Village gets funds from the state, and I appreciate that so much. Because I lived in a bad situation with a family member, because she was my guardian. But you know what? That doesn't matter now. I am free thanks to the state giving me the right back. And I just don't ever want to lose that. I'm scared that you guys will, not you guys, but the state would take that away from me and I will end up in a group home and everything will just go back downhill. And I won't want to do that. I want to keep thriving for the future. and thriving for how much I can go for. And, having cerebral palsy, I need to keep the Medicaid because who's going to help me pay for my neurological doctor, the neurosurgeon, the anesthesiologist, the surgery, period. And if I don't get that stuff, I will die. I have the shunt in the head, and if there's no way to drain, what you gonna do but back up and die? And I don't want to do that either. So I need the funds and stuff to be able to live, to be able to be happy, to be able to be Vicky, this smiling, happy-go-lucky, free little girl. Well, young woman, but to be me. So please, if you can, fight for all of our rights and all of our ways to make it. Please, I'm begging, just please. And I'll appreciate it. And everybody else would too. So thank you so much for giving me this little bit of time to, speak my piece. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gonzalez. Thank you.
My name is Joey Costanza. I do not want people to move out of Betty's Village, and I don't want people. I don't want to go to group home. People don't take care of me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Costanza. While we're waiting for our next folks to come up to the testimony table, I will remind members of the public that they may call in and offer testimony on the telephone line. To do so, you will dial 888-475-4499. And when prompted, provide the meeting ID, which is 840-6700-5000, and then press the pound sign when prompted. I will repeat that number. The telephone number is 888-475-4499. And the meeting ID is 840-6700-5000. And press pound when prompted. Welcome to the testimony table. You may begin when you're ready.
Hi, my name is Marie Brancini, MarieBranchini, and I am here with my sister. Her name is Leah, Lia Riccobene, Riccobene, and I'm also here for my brother John, who's not with me. And they both live at Betty's Village, and they live in the same group home. They've been there since the beginning. Betty's Village is like no other. I feel so privileged that my siblings are living there. And with the possible budget cuts, it won't just, they are in the only 4-bedroom that is there. So they are in technically the 4-bedroom group home. But all of their friends are there, and the whole camaraderie of Betty's Village is like no other. And the cuts to Medicare, Medicaid would affect all of them. Right now, in the home that we're in within the last year, due to the funding from DRC being less, we had to go down to less caregivers for the 4 of them that live in their group home. So I am, the first couple years of Betty's Village, I was very free. I didn't have to go there almost every day. And now with the small amount of cuts that have applied to their 4-bedroom home, I am there almost every day. And just as I've been here, and I almost felt like what a hard decision to bring my sister or my brother, which one, I can't take care of both. And they've called me 4 times about my brother being sick today. And here I am in Carson City feeling like, oh my gosh, I need to run over to help my brother. So thank God the people that are there that are taking care of him. And I cannot thank you enough for anything to do with a facility that is anything like Betty's Village. And Leah, do you want to talk about how happy you are there? Here.
I'm happy to live at Betty's Village because they got a game room. They got everything at the clubhouse that I like. And plus, I'm really happy because I got the opportunity to speak. I want to let you know I don't want the budget cut. I want Medicaid and Medicare to help with medical needs. And I appreciate all these people that came from Las Vegas because I really want to have a ability to help any way I can because I love Carson City and I love being here. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Riccobene. You may begin when you're ready.
Good afternoon. My name is Laura Winchester, Laurel Winchester. I'm from Washoe Valley, and I've been a special education teacher for the last 24 years and currently serve as a vice president for the Nevada chapter of the Council for Exceptional Children, Division of Career Development and Transition Services. I'm here today to advocate for the individuals with developmental disabilities and emphasize the urgent need for additional resources in our state to help them transition into adulthood. For years, I've witnessed the unique strengths with individuals with developmental disabilities bring to our communities. Their resilience, creativity, and work ethic make them valuable members of society. However, there remains a critical gap in resources here in Nevada as young adults with developmental disabilities move into adulthood. A major area of concern is the lack of rehabilitation and vocational training programs. These services provide individuals with essential skills to live independently and secure employment. Expanding these programs is vital for helping individuals thrive and contribute meaningfully to our communities. I urge the committee to prioritize expansion of these services so that individuals with developmental disabilities have the tools and support they need to lead independent lives and contribute fully to our state. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Seeing no additional public comment here in Carson City and none in Las Vegas AVH, is there anyone on the telephone lines who would like to offer public comment at this time?
Public line is open and working. There are no callers at this time.
Thank you. Members, that concludes our business for the day. Thank you so much for being here. Our next meeting is scheduled for Wednesday of this week. We have additional bill hearings. This meeting is adjourned.